Hi, I'm Scatcat. I generally go by Scatcat or Mad Catter, but most of the people I talk to online call me Catter. I've played Destiny 2 since year 1, and I pre-ordered the game on release, and Destiny 2 was my first foray into the Destiny universe. I was smitten by the gunplay in the world of sci-fi and fantasy. I'm a Warlock main, although I did briefly make a Hunter character for PvP. I'll get to that later, but for now I simply want to introduce whoever may be watching or listening to myself, how I think, and why I think, so you can better understand my argument and rationale on the subjects ahead. I'm not intentionally trying to trigger or otherwise anger people within the PvP community by sharing this. I'm simply putting the thoughts of what I consider myself to be a casual PvP player into the wind. Now, I'm going to try to keep this long-winded rant centered on PvP, but I generally drone on and on when I'm discussing subjects I'm really passionate about, so if I get into PvE subject matters, I hope you'll forgive me and stick with me through it. So the time frame on the following experiences range from the Forsaken release to Season of Opulence. Shadowkeep is pretty much slated for next week, and I'm telling myself to rush this as some of my qualms may have been resolved or worsened in that update. I'll try to format this in a way that's organized and easy to understand, but chances are I'll fail at properly explaining some things, and I surely hope you can forgive me for that. I don't consider myself a YouTuber, and I'm not used to condensing my thoughts on such short notice. Now, before I begin, I'll summarize what meta is to me in my own words. I consider meta to be one of, if not the most effective tactic or loadout to complete a specific task. Now, in context of PvP, naturally this can bring with it a lot of negative connotations, some of them very well deserved, but for once I'll hold my tongue and continue on. Now that you know what meta is, at least a faint idea anyway, what's your take on it, Catter? Well, I hate it. I hate it so much that when I enter a quick play match on any given day and I check the roster to see I'm the only Warlock on a team of nothing but Titans, and I see all of them are wearing One-Eyed Mask, using the Austringer, Mindbender's Ambition, and Hammerhead, while running Bottom Tree Striker, I let out an audible sigh of resignation and disbelief. Because I know for a fact, I'm not going to have fun that game. No one is. Now, to get to the point, I hate meta because it encourages players to stick to a single playstyle or set of gear, and it can enforce bad habits that can be detrimental to the long-term experience of players. Besides that, I simply have a major distaste for fighting in the same thing, day in and day out. I play PvP for variation that fighting against robots simply can't give me. So when I'm casually playing PvP and doing pretty decent, and I get teabagged by a Titan rocking the exact same loadout as every single other Titan I've seen that day, it just steadily begins to feel like I'm not fighting people at all. Just more bots. Really, really toxic bots. Now, I hope I don't come off as too anti-Titan, because to be clear, I hate Hunters too. As far as I'm concerned, only Warlocks are free of sin. Although we certainly do have a few blemishes of toxicity within the community. But in my experience with Destiny, I can say with absolute certainty, however, that Titans are generally much more toxic than either Hunters or Warlocks. I mean, seriously, the amount of hate mail I've received over the course of my PvP career generally comes from Titans. Now that I think about it, most of, if not all of the mail I get from Warlocks is the opposite. Either congratulatory or complimentary. Whereas with the Hunters, they generally just block me and that's it. Maybe they'll whisper a snide remark before they block me, but that's really about it. Titans, however, seem to be more keen to bombard you with a wall of text. Comedy aside, though, I don't hate Titans or Hunters. I understand both the classes offer things that the Warlock cannot. It would be hypocritical to fault people for having a different playstyle of my own. But for fuck's sake, Hunters, could you please stop with the edgelord aesthetic? Stop equipping Dredgen or the Shadow title. Stop running all black. Just please, if I see one more Dredgen Spectral Blades Shotgun Ape super hard edgelord, I'm gonna lose it. And Titans, please, take off the one-eyed mask and try the variety of other exotics at your disposal. I guarantee you'll find something that resonates with you and won't make other players shake their heads in disappointment when they see you on either team. Now this next topic has a little more to do with Bungie and the balancing problems that Destiny faces and will continue to face moving forward. So to scapegoat a single offender, I bring the one-eyed mask to the stand. Since its introduction in Forsaken, it's absolutely dominated the meta in both quick play and competitive. You'd be hard-pressed to find a Titan not using it, save for those that just don't have it yet. As far as exotics go, it's downright busted, offering more effects that neutrally activate and provide benefits than any other exotic within the game, in my opinion. Though I don't need to tell you what it does, I'm going to do so anyway, simply for those newbies that will probably join during New Light. On taking damage from any enemy, the enemy that caused damage is marked visually through your HUD with the Vengeance debuff. This mark will allow you to track the real-time location of the enemy, even through walls. Upon slaying the enemy by your hand, you are granted an overshield, health regeneration, and a damage buff. Mind you, absolutely none of this requires an active input like a lot of other exotics in the game. All of this triggers neutrally, and claiming that it's an active exotic by shooting is fucking ridiculous, and you should feel bad about yourself. You are essentially rewarded by One-Eyed Mask for simply playing the game, and your enemies, especially in PvP, are punished for simply playing the game. And the advantage that this exotic gives just absolutely demolishes most opposition, especially within the lower PvP skill brackets. But a skilled Titan player, as rare as they may be, can go on absolutely insane killing sprees simply because they equipped One-Eyed Mask. If you were to right now go on YouTube and look up Destiny 2 killing spree, most of those videos start Titans with One-Eyed Mask. And not to berate the players that use it, if they were to take off One-Eyed Mask, for the vast majority of them, they wouldn't be doing so well. And while this is certainly a figurehead of the issue I've brought forth, I'd like us to reminisce briefly about a more recent cause of pain.
Gloat of Wolves.
It's a shotgun with the range of a hand cannon. It was capable of absolutely destroying any super in the game, and any player for that matter. While it was eventually fixed, my issue is that Bungie acknowledged that it was downright busted in a blog post, and even made an awoo joke, but didn't fix the problem. They just leave it as it was, or they left it as it was until a future date. Now, to me, just, casual player, this is unacceptable. For that period of time, no matter how brief it was, absolutely every lobby had at least one player destroying the opposite team with Lord of Wolves, a gun that had very little business being that powerful in the first place. Shredding supers and guardians alike can be fantastic fun when you're the Slayer, but when you're on the receiving end, it's quite frustrating being defeated by an individual that you know wouldn't be half as deadly without such a weapon. Or in more simpler terms, a crutch. A training wheel for skill. Like One-Eyed Mask. Now, the point of this long-winded segment is I want Bungie to stop doing nothing and be more receptive to players, especially those in the higher brackets. One-Eyed Mask shouldn't have remained in its past or even current state for as long as it had. The same goes for Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten. They dominated the meta for what felt like years, and when they were finally toned down, most of the people that used them nearly exclusively dropped them entirely, moving on to other weapons and loadouts, because the players that essentially relied on those weapons to carry their weight couldn't anymore. They went from 180 to 150, and the Magnificent Howl perk was changed so that it's not an easy slay mechanic. Now, by listening to the players that are in higher skill brackets, balancing the lower ranks would become easy. As Bungie knows, higher skill players will always be able to find incredibly cheesy strategies or exploits, so that the mechanisms of the weapon or armor pieces are used to their fullest potential. But as is the case with One-Eyed Mask since its inception, both low, medium, and high-ranking players have gone on to say it's downright busted. Yet, rather than reworking it or potentially temporarily disabling it, like Bungie said they could do with Lord of Wolves, both very well within their power, they've done absolutely nothing of value to it, and it goes on to dominate the Titan exotic armor slot to this day. Now, not to gloat, but I recently hit Legend, and I must say, I'd rather partake in a 15-mile hike, all uphill, rather than go through that again. To me, it wasn't remotely fun, and let me explain why. Now, I'm generally a risky and really aggressive player in PvP. I enjoy staying on the move and using my vertical space to assault my enemies, or attacking them from unexpected angles. I enjoy using Vesper Radius to kill supers. I like sniping using Wings of Sacred Dawn, and I love swords. But I can't do any of that in competitive. All the habits I've built up in quick play can be used against me. While in the lower brackets, maybe Fable 3 and below, I can have moderate success with these. Once I was in the upper echelons of ranks, I was immediately destroyed. My unorthodox movement did nothing at all, since Titans could just track me through walls with One-Eyed Mask. Enemy teams would chain supers by using bottom tree strikers, extreme duration, and stopping power to generate orbs while slaying myself and my team. Hunters could farm my blueberries for recluse buffs and flawless execution, preventing me from ever sneaking up on them or flanking effectively. Any and all variation within loadouts died. It was always hand cannon, shotgun, or hand cannon, sniper. Along with, a couple pinnacles thrown in there, recluse and whatnot. And for the power slot, it was always hammerhead or Wardcliff coil. Nothing else. Well, save for tractor cannon, but you know how that is. And while this lack of variation in loadouts made it relatively easy to counter, it forced me to shed my colorful loadouts and don a really standard gray one. I had to conform to the meta to climb to Legend, and I hated it. Now, this obviously isn't an issue for everyone. I'm not going to claim to be the best at the game, because I know I'm not. I'm decent, but I'm not crazy enough to grind Legend with an all-white loadout. And I don't ever intend on playing comp more than I really must. Save for people like True Vanguard or Kamicakes, two YouTubers that standard go into comp as opposed to quick play. Super highly recommend their channels, by the way. Really cool guys, very informative videos. They've helped me a lot. Now, I'd love nothing more than to continue to play competitive and grow as both a player and improve my skill and temperament. But in my eyes, if I'm not having fun, it's not worth it. The only reason I grinded to Legend was because I coveted the Not Forgotten, the source of my frustration pre-nerf, and I really, really wanted the Legend emblem. But now that I've reached Legend, and I don the Not Forgotten and wear the Legend emblem, I'm in the shadow of it. Nearly every other quick play match I play, if I'm not on the top of the scoreboard by a wide margin, I get whispered, "Bot forgotten! Recovery account garbage! You're bad! Fuck you!" Stuff like that. My garments put a really heavy expectation upon my skill as a player, and if I fail to meet these expectations, I'm berated. It's not fun. There's no particular fix for this. It's mostly just a mental issue, I'm bitching and whining right now, but especially as of late, I find myself taking off my 30 win streak competitive emblem and switching to something else, because I just don't want more hate mail. Now, with this in mind, I take pride in not using what's standard. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you saw Warlock using Vesper Radius in Crucible? Years? Months? I haven't seen a single person use it since year 1. How about swords? I have a god roll death razor that I farmed from Heroic Menagerie, and it is my pride and joy. It's underpowered. It's shitty. Sometimes it cheats me from kills I should have gotten, with absolutely no fault on my part. And the ammo economy's fucking garbage. But I love it. Because when I kill XX underscore blood edge underscore XX, and he's using the most meta loadout imaginable, I know for a fact I was at a disadvantage, and I outplayed him. I earned that kill. I worked for it. Now, I know I'm a hypocritical hipster warlock, telling people that they should be able to use whatever suits their fancy, but at the same time, defacing those that use loadouts that make them feel powerful, like One-Eyed Mask, Mountaintop, Recluse, Hammerhead, things like that. But every once in a while, I urge each and every one of you, regardless of what class you play, take an exotic you haven't used in a long, long time, just bring it out. Take it for a spin. Maybe switch your entire loadout, armor and all, after every round of Crucible. Go 6-man racking in quick play with friends. Just try something new. That's really what I hope you take away from all this. My bitching aside, I'd love to see more variety in Crucible. And it disgusts me. It really disgusts me that we're in a place where if a YouTuber doesn't make a video on something, it never gets used. And everything will stay the same. No one experiments anymore. And that makes me really sad. So please, just take this whole rant, all my spiel, give it some thought, or don't, that's fine too, and tell me what you think in the comments below. Reach out to me on Steam, Twitch, in-game, whatever. But do please keep it civil. We're all adults, I assume. I'm not infallible. I can be wrong. Heck, I probably am wrong. And if you feel I'm wrong, tell me. I'm gonna try to stay active for about a week and answer any questions this video generates, if any at all. But I'm really, really excited for Shadowkeep. And all my bad-mouthing aside, I love Destiny, and I love the PvP, and I want nothing than for it to be better. So take care, and I hope you stick around.